Today we have a great pleasure to welcome two of our very own scholars, Professor Hongbo, who is a professor of financial economics here at in the School of Finance and Management, and also Vina Zhu or Ruirui Zhu, who is a final year PhD student working closely with Hong here at the School of Finance and Management, SOAS University of London, and both there is a sound coming. I'm not sure whether, but they are presenting today, sharing with us very, very influential piece of work on a highly contemporary issue, which is AI, artificial intelligence adoption and farm performance with key evidence from China. This is very welcome given the interest on AI, and here the Center for Global Finance, we have pursued AI as well as machine learning, and here is one of the papers that will play an important role here. But it is proper to introduce the authors fully. They deserve great attention and well introduction. And of course, Hong is a very well known, Professor Hong Bo, very well known in financial economics. Does not require much introduction, but still, I'll go ahead and introduce her as a professor in financial economics within SOAS University of London, and also the deputy director of the Center for Global Finance here at SOAS University of London. Hong received her degrees in economics from Lanzhou University in China, a BA, Renmin University in China, MSc, London School of Economics and Political Science, MSc, and the University of Groningen in the Netherlands for her PhD. And her research interests are in financial economics, and especially focusing on issues like investment decisions under uncertainty, capital market imperfections, comparative financial systems, many areas of corporate finance, corporate governance, Chinese economy, and doing great work on China's state finance overseas infrastructure investment across the world. She has published in the most prestigious journals in her profession, including the Journal of Corporate Finance, the Review of Finance, Regional Studies, Journal of Bank and Finance. I could go on and on and on and on. Now, as I say, she's supervising a rising star, a rising scholar, Vina Zhu, who is a final year PhD student. Vina's PhD thesis focuses on corporate finance aspects of Chinese listed non-financial firms, and she obtained her BSc and MSc in economics from the University of Nottingham, Ningbo, and has recently published a research paper on the investment behavior of one-child policy CEOs in China in the research in international business and finance last year, and congratulations to Vina. So, with that introduction, let me also mention that this is work in progress. Please feel free to give your comments. There is no comment that is minor or negative. Any comment made in a constructive spirit is very much welcome. Feel free also to ask questions, provide feedback as we go, which is interactive. So please stop me or stop the presenter and ask any question or provide any comment or any feedback. Those of you are, let me please join me in putting our hands together to welcome Hong and Ruirui for this presentation. Thank you. Hong, please go ahead.
Thank you. So can you hear me clearly, right?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Yeah.
And can you see the transparency as well?
Yeah, but I can't see the full transparency. Can
you see the?
Oh no, hang on. It might be my screen. No, it's not my. Oh yes. It was my screen.
Can you see?
I can see everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
but do you want to put in presentation mode? It's not in presentation mode, right? No, not that one. The middle one.
the middle one.
No. Can you put the cursor on them?
So I can I put the, so this is the I shared my PDF file. So what's the problem with that?
I can see, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I think okay. That's
the way basically fine. I'm delivering my online lecture. I hope.
Okay. Please go ahead if we experience difficulty in the PDF. You have minus and then the middle and then X. What about there? Yeah, could go click on that. No, doesn't help.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah. Go ahead and present as is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, so thanks, Victor, for your nice introduction, and thanks for everybody for making the time for this presentation. And so, as you can see, that we are, AI is one of the controversial topics at this moment, and I can see people probably have heard, both good things and risks that related with AI and via adoption. So today we try to apply some economic theories to explain, to try to evaluate the economic impact of AI adoption based on a panel of Chinese listed firms. So I will start with the theoretical part. We will lay down the theories, and then we will have winner who is going to talk about the empirical part. So first of all, because of this topic, let me start with a little bit general introduction, linking AI with the economy. I remember people, sometimes people, we know something about AI, but how to put AI into somewhere that we are familiar with, and that is the economy. So as far as I can think of at this moment, so we can look at the role of AI in the economy by thinking about the growth of the economy. So let me just use this very simple Cobb-Douglas production function, which we all know, I think many of us. And traditionally, we have a production function, which is Y here, and we have A, which represents the technology or the advance of technology, and L refers to labor, and K refers to capital stock or capital investment. Alpha and beta are the shares, respectively, for labor and capital stock. So if we think about this very fundamental basic economic theory, where can we see AI? So AI, in a traditional way, if we think of AI as the traditional technology, and that should be in A, so advanced or level of technology or technology stock, etc. But the difference between AI and traditional technologies, I would say, is that now people are talking about the component of AI in labor and in the capital stock as well. So therefore, yes, we agree that if there is a role for AI to play in the economy, first of all, it is technology. However, it has some additional elements here because AI is also in labor force, and it is also in capital, because think about capital investment. So investing in AI is that can form more capital stock. So therefore, it's it is everywhere in this growth framework, actually. And if you think about financing for AI, so I have been reading something about AI, and my own PhD degree was from the financing for firms from that perspective. So I know if we are talking about research and development, we very often think about financial constraints. So therefore, in general, overall, we will say that if firms are investing in innovation or research development, they are facing financial constraints, and that is even heavier severe as compared to the normal fixed capital investment. However, I mean, people probably would agree with me if we talk about financing for AI, we have not heard about financial constraints because we see quite a lot of private equity investment, venture capital, they are rushing into AI at this moment. So in this paper, we are not talking about financial constraints per se. We focused on their economic impact. So this is another interesting aspect for AI, and it is new because so far we have not seen. Of course, maybe small and medium-sized enterprises, when they are there, when they are investing in AI, they face more problems. And there is another issue, and that is connected, and that is AI governance. So at the moment, we have heard there are two aggregate models. One is top-down governance model, and the other is bottom-up. And I think it is very easy to imagine who is taking the top-down, and that is China, or China is a representative example in this model. Where is maybe the US or other Western countries, they are taking the bottom-up approach. So there are some discussions on this side as well, and there are quite a lot of discussion on the labor market, and that was the initial research topic when AI emerged, in maybe a few years ago. So a lot of people concentrated on what happens if we use AI and what happens on the labor market. So they thought about maybe the most important impact will be the redundance of quite a lot of employees. Therefore, they talk about social issues, they talk about inequality, and I think I have something about the regulation things. So those are the and now we see more and more evidence that actually AI changed the structure of the labor force to the direction that we need more highly skilled human capital. So for the motivation of this paper is that we treat AI initially. Actually, when we were discussing about this topic, we only thought about we treat AI as a normal technology. So I told Wina, can you go back to, let's say, ICT or computer, even the steam power, because those things are so similar. But then at this moment, we realized that there are some differences. So AI is not the same. It's at the role or the impact of AI will be different. So that's one of the motivations. And then particularly when we thought about this topic initially, there were not so many research on AI, and there was something at the aggregate level, but they mainly focused on the labor market. And now the firm level research or studies are emerging, but still a key element or obstacle is that people do not have sufficient information in terms of AI engagement, the firm's engagement in AI at the firm level. So that's something that motivated our research. But of course, it takes some time, and now we see more papers. And so we, at the moment, we can think of the following contributions, and we are still developing. So the first contribution will be on the AI information on the firm level. So we have not seen that people, for the published paper, we have not seen that people have used, the direct information. Directed by that I mean we got this AI information directly from the firm's annual report text section. And we also thought for our empirical studies, so far we have seen something, either people focused on AI inventing firms. So inventing means they invent AI products. And very rarely we see people who only talk about AI using firms. But in this paper, we combine both, but we do check whether or not the impact differs between those two types of firms. And of course, I have not seen, maybe they are coming, but I have not seen similar studies based on the Chinese non-financial firms. So let me go down to the literature a little bit. As I said that, there firm level study is emerging, but I have found maybe 5 or 6 papers that are very informative. So they are now at the firm level, and they are published actually at a very good level, as you can see. So I summarized this in this table. If I missed something, I mean, in terms of the publications, I may have missed 1 or 2, but I think those are very representative for on the firm level. So we see that the first paper, Babena et al. So they actually, the research question is quite similar here. So firm performance is the objective of the research. So they want to link AI with firm performance. So in the first study, Babena et al. And the new published research, they actually use AI investment to proxy AI. And later I'm going to explain a little bit more. The interesting for this study is that they use AI investment, but from the human capital perspective. And so they check the firm performance in terms of the growth in sales, in employment, etc. And this is for US firms. So we see another firm level study, Moglu et al., also recent paper. They focused on labor productivity. So they see that as an efficiency indicator, and they use survey data, and they use American, I think 2019 survey data, but they checked American firms during the period between 2016 to 2018. So if you have the survey data, you just ask firms to tell you whether or not they are using AI or they are doing something. Here is just the use of AI related, including, dedicated equipment, specialized software, etc. But remember, this is the survey data, so they did something like a cross section. And then you have we have here Yang 2022, which is published in Research Policy, and they check productivity, they check the components or the structure of the employment. In this study, they focused on AI invention. So how many patents? Because they focused on, as you can see, is Taiwanese electronic industry or firms in this industry. As you know that they are very good in this sector. So you see, I focused on those indicators here, and here the data is available, but it's not really, it's the inventing, how many patents, and they count the patents, and they count, they check whether or not. We were talking about research by Koch et al., and they basically they check total factor productivity, they check output, they check labor cost, and they again, this one is survey data. It is the survey data based on Spanish firms. So I think the last one is similar, but this one is for French firms, and the data that they use here, I mean, not the data, the AI information they used here is actually the transaction, the trade transaction data. Okay, so let me actually talk a little bit more about this data issue, because I think one of our contributions is on the data, and we try to compare what the existing literature has already done in terms of the data and what we contributed. So I said a group of studies, a couple, it's not a group, a couple of studies who used AI investment. So they try to emphasize AI investment. And I said at least Babena et al., they focused on human capital. So they basically, they check the CVs of their employees, and they want to understand who is connected with AI and what kind of skills that they have. So they looked at the information on employees' CV, employees' information, and they identify the stock of the firm's AI, human capital stock. In that sense, they say this is kind of the AI investment undertaken by the firm. And they also look, in addition to that, they also looked at the new job posting by the firm. In the job advertisement, they see whether or not there are some AI related requirements in terms of the skills. And by doing so, they say this is a proxy for no demand, for labor, for AI related labor. So combining those two different data sources, they checked if I think this is the investment undertaken by the firms, then it should be connected to the firm's performance. And in the second one here, they used the trade data I already mentioned. So they just count how many transactions the firm has already made when they import something, and whether or not those imports are connected with AI. So so they use that. So they know the value. They know the value of the transaction. And I did mention there are some survey data, but survey data I think is for the American firms and the Spanish, and they do have some firm level data, but those are patent data. So our data, our AI information is basically directly taken from from reading the text sections of our firm's annual reports. So which I have not seen, but but this takes time. But we do apply a little bit AI when collecting data as well. So In terms of the evidence, if I can summarize by reading the literature, I would say there are the following aspects. First of all, on labor, and you can imagine this is the most sensitive, I would say sensitive area. So for labor, there are labor costs. There are, what about the level of employment? And the evidence so far is mixed in terms of labor cost, in terms of the structure of the the level of employment. In terms of the structure of employment, I think it has now become very clear. So that is, they change the structure. AI will change the structure of the employment in the sense that the demand for the high-skilled labor will be much higher. So, so there are some performance. So there are so in terms of AI on firm performance, no matter what kind of performance you are talking about, we can see a clear picture, and that is it is generally positive. Also for innovation, some people focused on innovation, and the impact of AI is positive. And there is an interesting moderating factor, and that is the firm size. And some studies found that actually if those AI impacts are more profound if the firm is a larger firm, which is understandable because AI requires big data and requires, a skill to operate. So, and some people investigated what are the impact will be on the industry structure, for example. So it probably means more champion firms and less competition. So that's probably one of the things that people will be concerned about. So, so this is the last bit of the literature, and that is the channels. So yes, we have the first part of the question, and that is what are exactly the impact? But then the second, the following question will be through what kind of channels that AI can impact firm performance per se. So we check the channels. So by reading the literature, we have the following channels: product innovation channel, and process innovation channel, and labor productivity, which is self-explanatory. I'm going to give you maybe an example that I think I listened to a lecture, so I think I got this example from them. So in terms of the product innovation, think about, let's say, shampoo. So we use shampoo, hair shampoo. So they actually used this example. They say that, so there are so many different components if you want to make a type of shampoo. And that should suit the need from different people, different age group, etc. So the idea is it is very complicated if you want to invent or produce a shampoo, a type of a brand of shampoo. People, by human production, they need probably thousands experiments to reach that best combination. But by using AI, it probably AI can do this very quickly, so they can match different combinations, maybe 100 times. So and that says two things. One is the cost of innovation will be lower than without AI, because you saved a lot of time, and you even saved some labor cost as well. And second, it's probably more likely to get some more innovative product because AI can do more than human beings. So that's the project. That's the idea of product innovation. Think about biology, chemistry, everything that you can use AI to function in that similar way. So process innovation is more like you apply AI in your production process or even management. So now we see quite a lot of them. If we do not go to banks. If we have some issues, actually we can solve that. Maybe a little bit complicated issue, but even with the online AI. So so maybe as the last step, if that AI cannot help you, and they will connect you to a person. So but that's fine. So people say AI is not perfect, but the result produced by AI, I heard people say. So it looks like if for university, it looks like a first upper level second class student. So for us, it's the answer provided by a merit student. That's fine, 2-1. Okay. So it's not perfect, but the result is good enough. So in terms of the labor productivity, I do not need to explain. So as you can see that if you have more highly skilled labor, and definitely I would say labor productivity will be enhanced. So so that's the literature. And since we are talking about China, we do have something about China here, but we do not have time to extend this. So overall, China started their AI strategy from 2017, and basically they want to be the leader. China is now better in terms of AI application, but not AI invention. So the US is still leading AI invention. So and a lot of so think about East Asian countries or Central Asian countries. They use a lot of Chinese AI application, smart cities, face recognition, and so things like that. But China is not it's not at the top in terms of producing AI, but it is the top in terms of the applying AI. So China's strategy actually aims to not only AI products, but also regulation or standards. So they want to be the leader in all those different areas. And of course, it's not easy. It will be very difficult. So I think this is my part. So I laid down the theory, the motivation, contribution of our research. And now I hand this over to Weina, who is going to dig deeper about how exactly we did this. Weina, are you ready?
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Professor Bo, for the literature and the introduction part, and which is excellent. And it's my honor to do the presentation on CGF seminar. And now let's move on to the research question part. So the main research question for this paper should be how AI can impact on the firm performances. So here we use two indicators to measure the firm performances. The first one is total factor productivity. So we short for TFP later. And the second one is firm growth. We use FG as the indicator. So here we have these two measurements for the firm performances, which are the dependent variables in our models. And we also have our key explanatory variables. They are AI adoption, AI utilization, and also AI product or AI production. So these three, I will call them AI for short in later. They are the main key explanatory variables in our models. So we are going to test how AI have impact on the total factor productivity and firm growth. So as we talked previously, Professor Ball mentioned in the introduction part, the technology is very important as the key factor of the total factor productivity. So we link AI to the TFP here, and it is supported theoretically by some important literature. And also the firm growth is based on like growth model theory. And we also control the variables like firm size, sales growth, firm age, leverage, state ownership, and the R&D as the standard control variables in our model. Okay, next page, please. Thank you. Yes. So the key variable, we will discuss this part into details because we manually collect our data for AI. And here are several steps to collect the data. Firstly, we download the annual reports of the Chinese listed firms on Shanghai Stock Exchange and the Shenzhen Stock Exchange over 2010 to 2020 by Python from the stock market website, because it is a very hard work by if we manually collect the data. So I use Python to do this work, which can cost less time. Yes. So step 2, we search the following keywords in the annual report for each firm. The first one is 人工智能 in Chinese. So this means artificial intelligence in English. And the second one is 机器人, which called robot in English. And the third one is AI, which is the abbreviation of artificial intelligence in English. So we search these 3 keywords in the annual report, and then they will show the text section. So we from step 3 we read the text section containing these keywords and identify whether the firm uses AI or for management producing purposes, or firms produces AI related products. So here we need to identify or to differentiate these 2 concepts. The first one is AI utilization. The second one is AI product. The first one, as we mentioned before, it means that firms apply AI or they use AI in producing process or for management purposes. However, for the AI product, which means that the firm produce or invent the AI related product, they are different here. So by reading the text section, we can differentiate these 2 concepts, and we can find for 人工智能, for the first keyword, artificial intelligence, we find 624 firms. They use AI for management or producing purposes. And when we search AI in the text, we have 432 firms that use AI in the process. And for robot, the 机器人, we have 428 firms, and etc. We have 35, 122, and 98 for each part for AI product part. Okay, so step 4, Then we can define our dummy variables. The first one is AI use dummy. So if the firm use AI for the management or producing purposes, then we take the AI use dummy as 1, otherwise 0. The same logic for AI product. The AI adoption is like a combination of AI use dummy and AI invention dummy. Okay, so let's go to the next page. So here, this table shows the specific definition for each AI dummy. The first one, AIA. AI adoption, a dummy variable which takes the value of 1 if the firm either uses AI or produces AI-related products, otherwise 0. And we can see AIU and AIP as well. So finally, we get 634 firms that the AIA equals to 1. And we have 570 firms that AIU equals to 1. And AIP equals to 1's firm number is 200. Okay, so we go to next part. So I'm going to introduce our panel data set. So we start with 4,103 listed firms on Shanghai and Shenzhen Stock Exchange during 2010 to 2020. After taking out financial firms and the firms with incompleted information, we have 3,391 non-financial listed firms, which contain 34 AI adoption firms. Firm level data are collected from SISMA, which is a famous database in China, and firm level variables are winterized by trimming 1% of the top and the bottom extreme values. Okay, so here we comes to our main models. We use average treatment effect model for to test our equations, because so as we know, to select use AI or to invent AI related product is selected by firms. So here we have a consideration on the selection bias. So for this consideration, we apply the average treatment effect model to cut this endogenous problem. So this ATE model has 2 parts. The first part is the treatment equation, and next the outcome equation. So the first equation is a probit model. So we can see that we have a dependent variable of which is AI, which is a dummy variable, and following by the right side variables. So they are all control variables. But here, I want to emphasize one key variable for our IV, which is proximity. So we put proximity as an important IV instrumental variables in the treatment equation, which means the geographical distance between the firm's headquarters and an AI center in China. Why this can be the IV in our model is because that when the geographical distance is important to get information or latest updated news from the main AI center. So when the distance is short or small, they have more chance or opportunities to get more information on AI part. So we use this as our IV in our product model, or yes. And then we have the outcome equation, which is our main model. The left part is the performance indicators. As I mentioned before, they are two important key variables. They are productivity, total factor productivity, and firm growth. And the right side variables, the main key explanatory variable, AI means AIA, AIU, and AIP. And we have performance lagged value and other control variables. Yes. And okay, so now we are going to see the models about the channels, because as Professor Bob mentioned previously, that we have three main channels. The first one is product innovation channel, and the second one is process innovation channel, and the third one is labor channel. So for the product innovation channel, we use the annual patent number to indicate, to measure this product innovation channel, because we want to know whether the patent is the main mechanism through which that AI can affect the firm performances. And the second one is the change of total operating cost. And because from the theory part and literature, we can see that using AI or applying AI in the process or producing process or management purposes, they can reduce our operating cost. So whether this is the main mechanism that through which AI can affect the firm performances is the main question mark here. So the third one is the labor channel. So we use change of employee number. Why we use this is because, as mentioned in the literature part or the theory part, we know that the labor productivity can be changed or can be enhanced by applying AI into firms. So we try to test these three channels, and we just make an interactive term between AI and the channel into our models to test the result. Okay, so the next page is showing that the table results of our equations models. So as we can see that there are two parts. The first part is outcome equation results. The second part, right side part, are treatment equation results. So the left side part, we have three main AI dummies, AIA, AIU, and AIP. And this is the TFP model. So for TFP model, we can see that all three AI indicators are positively significant. So, for example, AIA, we can see that an increase of AIA can result in an increase in TFP. So they are it is very significant. So, and we can see that AIU and AIP are also significant, positively significant here. And so on the right side, we can see that the most control variables are significant as well, and the proximity, the IV, is negatively significant. So which enhanced or which means that our hypothesis for the distance theory is correct, or yes, it can be. This can be showed from the table that AI do have impact on TFP. Okay, so the next page shows how AI impact the FG, firm growth. So we use the growth rate of total assets to indicate firm growth. And we can see that all three AI indicators are positively significant, which means that AI do have impact on the FG. And from the right hand side, you can see that the proximity and other control variables are all significant, mostly significant. Yes, and So for the channel testing part, we have a summary table to show the results. So we have so for the process innovation part, we can see that AIU is positively significant in the testing result, and the for firm growth model, AIA, AIU, AIP are all positively significant. And for the labor productivity, we can see that AIU and AIA are positively significant related with the firm growth. So from this table, we can see that the process innovation, especially the using of the AI part, is very important in explaining the firm performances. Okay, so we also here we have our robustness test because we want to know whether the results are similar by using another testing method. So we try to use time varying DID. So time varying DID is like a branch of DID methodology. It is applied when each firm has its own post indicators. So firstly, we take the first year when the firm uses AI or produces AI-related products as the policy year. Then we denote the years after the policy years as post, which is a dummy. Okay, so and the years before the policy year as post equals to 0. Okay, so after the policy year is 1, before is 0. So that's the post variable, which is a dummy variable. And the firms that uses AI or produces AI related products are in the treatment group. So here we means that treatment equals to 1. Okay, so otherwise treatment equals to 0. Then we can construct our dummy variable DID by multiplied the post by treatment. Okay, so the logic are very similar to the traditional DID methodology. Okay, so here we have our DID models, and the results are very clear. So the DID is the interactive term, okay, is positively significant for AIA and AIU, but not AIP. So this is the first table, okay, for the TFP model. And the second table shows that the DID are all positively significant in the FG firm growth model for all 3 AI indicators. Okay, so yes. So then we try to test the channels by using time varying DID model. So the logic is that we split the sample into subsample groups. So for example, to test the product innovation channel, we just split the whole sample into 2 main subsample groups, with patent group versus no patent group. So the with patent group means that in this sample, firms are all involved in inventing AI-related patents. In the no patent group means that there are no firms inventing AI-related patents. Okay, so the same logic is applied to the process innovation channel. We split the model by the median of the whole sample, which means that firstly we calculate the mean value of the total operating cost, the change of total operating cost, and we have each firm's mean value, and then we find the median of the whole sample mean value for each firm, and then if the firm's mean value of the total operating cost is higher than the whole sample median, then it goes into the higher median group, and the same logic for the lower median group. So for the labor productivity channel, firstly, we find the whole samples median. Yes, and if the firm's median of the change of level of employment is higher than the whole sample median, then it goes into the higher median group. And if it is lower than the whole sample median, then it goes to the lower median group. So by splitting the subsamples, we splitly test the DID models for these two groups for each channel, and we compare the results. Then we can see whether the channel works. So by doing that, we have a summary result table for our DID channel result. So as we can see that in the robustness test, for the product innovation, we have both AIA and AIU that is positively related to the firm growth. And in the process innovation channel, we can see that AIA and AIU are significant. And for the labor productivity channel, we can see that AIU works in TFP models, and both AIA and AIU works for firm growth model. So we can see that the next table shows the main test result, the benchmark test result, and the first is the DID result, which is our robustness result. So from these two tables, we can see that AIU works better than AIU definitely works better in the test result, right? So we can see that the using of AI in the in firms or for management or producing purposes are really quite important to explain the TFP or the firm growth. Yes, especially in the process innovation channel. Okay, thank you. So these are the empirical
So let me take over. Thank you. So this is the last page. I'm sorry, I think we are a little bit overdone in terms of the time, but let me finish this by summarizing our results. So as you can see that we did find overall positive results of adopting AI. Either they produce AI-related product or they just apply this in their process or management, etc., etc. So, but they do have a positive impact. And secondly, we found that actually those three channels, we found among those three channels, we found the process innovation, i.e. the saving of cost, is more important, at least based on our Chinese non-listed firms. And that means AI using firms are benefiting more than AI inventing firms. I think this is, we found this, and then I tried to make the connection between the result with the Chinese practice, and that is in line with the practice. As I already mentioned, Chinese firms China is still, China, they have their own argument. They say we do not focus on AI invention because it makes no sense if somebody has already invented and I need to invent it, so I just apply. And you can also argue from from a Western perspective, they would say in China copied and pasted quite a lot in using AI, but that's fine. But this says our result is consistent with this reality, and that is AI application is more effective actually in China. So we are still thinking about our policy implications, and of course you see the subsidies, and subsidies are in all over the places. AI is one of the sectors or things that the Chinese government is heavily subsidizing. So, the problem is, whether small and medium-sized firms can have the similar chance. And then we also want to see that, this time, from this year onward, Chinese government has put a lot of emphasis on AI invention. So because they are restricted from the Western AI supply chain, AI related product supply chains. So therefore, they are now studying to work harder on this AI invention. And of course, there are some issues in terms of human capital, and that requires policy attention. So I think this is everything we have. I'm really sorry that we are a little bit over the time. And I hope you found something interesting. And also, I'm looking forward to the questions.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Hong, and thanks, Ruirui, for a very interesting paper. I think I'm not worried about the time. It's me to apologize because the internet connectivity threw me out for a couple of minutes, and as usual, the approach is I first had to log out and log in again so that I can be, and I apologize for that. Connectivity. So I missed a little bit of your presentation, but that's possible for about 5 minutes. Overall, I did enjoy the paper. As expected, you are looking into an absolutely contemporary, topical, and interesting issue. And I admire the way you motivated the paper in trying to explain why IED adoption would be important for farm performance. The literature you reviewed, including this great paper in the Journal of Financial Economics 2024, which I think I have to read, definitely is the first time on my radar. And then the plausible models that you invoked, the data collection, painstaking data collection, and of course, the interesting results that you generate and share with us. Just a couple of things. As you review the literature, my mind was trying to be a little bit narrow. That's my own mind. I narrowed it into finance. And I said, if I was looking at this, AI adoption, performance, possibly I would, there is no reason why you should focus on, corporate finance per se, because, looking at the aspects of the farm, you measured, are great. But I was wondering whether in preparing for this paper, you came across other papers that may be taking a corporate finance aspects like farm performance in terms of, say, efficiency. Say, maybe it does improve. Efficiency is measured, especially if these farms are listed, and if they are not. If they are listed, that would, because then it would address the question of information asymmetry. Maybe AI has an information advantage. So the information advantage of AI among farms in China, if that were the case, but from globally, maybe that has not been the. I'm sorry to raise a question which is relative, but I'm trying to broaden the kind of discussions we could have here. But also, maybe if literature has tried to look at the aspects of corporate finance issues, like, for example, portfolio zero investment performance of AI firms, which is your tough. I'm sure Hong has thought about it and rejected it on another route. Why investment uncertainty doesn't come into the picture when you look at AI firms. Issues of farmers policy, like dividend policy decisions of AI, maybe capital structure decisions of gearing and access to finance. Okay, those issues, and maybe if you have literature, you can help us, because one major result of this research seminar is to provoke everybody to start thinking about these issues you are addressing, and maybe try to generate some work, along those areas. Now, The other observation I had was the interesting aspect of looking at the interesting results you get between total factor productivity and farm growth, and very clear, interesting results on farm growth, and not so clear on total farm productivity. I have had my own frustrations of using TFP actually on farm data, in the sense that maybe because of the methods of measurement, I cannot point to a paper that I cannot point to any paper where I have got clear-cut answers from TFP. That's not to say we don't use it, but maybe some of the reason why it's no on the evidence may be generating from some of the challenges of the measurement of total factor productivity. Now, the final comment is and you forgive me for this one because I couldn't find an answer myself on how to address it. In the empirical specifications, you have the equations, very interesting equations. So you have some of the issues like farm characteristics, which I interpreted them, by the way, I could be wrong, but I interpreted them as farm characteristics like size, age, and so forth. But suppose for the sake of argument that we have two groups of farms, those who have used AI and those who have not. But the groups are similar in every aspect, 100% perfectly symmetric in every aspect except the use of AI. Would that make a difference? Okay. So with that, what I will do now is having thrown a couple of comments around maybe to excite further discussion in the paper, is to look back and see we have on the chart, we have our very own Amidu, Professor Amidu at the University of Ghana, Legon, and our very own Professor Sandrine Kablan, University of Paris. So 1, 2. So I'll start with you, Amidu, and then go to Sandrine. Amidu, you have the floor.
Good. Thank you very much, Chair. A very exciting paper, especially the motivation using the Cobb-Douglas theory. But I just want to comment on that one. Even the chair has already made a comment on that. The dependent variable, use total factor productivity, and then the firm goal. So what about efficiency? The chair has already said about that. Or because this AI, especially the labor channel, because you listed the different type of channel through which we may have the AI. Why didn't you look at reduction in accidents? Because if you look at the selection of your firm, a lot of them are in the manufacturing sector. So if you want to look at productivity, if you want to look at performance in the manufacturing sector, and you believe you wanted to adopt AI, especially the labor channel, why won't you check whether the adoption of the AI has reduced the accidents in the factory? You can easily make a very strong argument that if you adopt the AI, and in fact your performance will be enhanced in a way of reduction in the labor accidents, the employee accident in the factory. My second issue got to do with the rationale for using the IV. Why did you use IV? Is there any motivation? Is there any, per your model, do you think that some of the variable correlate within among themselves or within the error term. And I don't know whether I heard something on treatment group. So if you have a treatment group and then the control group, then why didn't you use diff? That's a difference in differences and regression analysis, because that's the new methodology that people are now using in terms of you having a treatment group and that of control group. That's what I have so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hamidu, for those very important observations. Let me see, Hong, maybe Hong and Ruirui, maybe you respond to that before, or if you wish, I could continue getting the comments. It's up to you. But I can see Sandrine and our very own Kieran on the queue. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's have a collection of the questions. Yes.
Okay. So I now let me invite Sandrine to share her comments. Sandrine.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Ruirui, Zhu, and Professor Hongbo for your presentation. It was very interesting. I have a comment and also a question about the sectors. I think it's a bit like the question that has been asked, but precisely I would like to ask you if it could be interesting to test whether or not AI can have a different impact on different sectors, because in your sample you choose you have listed firms, but those firms are from different sectors. But I think that there are some sectors where AI could be could have more important impact than others. So how do you treat this? And also, I was wondering if in your econometric specification you took into account sector heterogeneity, because I think in model related to firms, generally it's advised to take it into account, but I didn't pay attention, and it's just for you to, it's just to tell you if you have take this into account or not, because in the literature it's important to take it into account. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandrine. So I'll go ahead now and invite Kieran, and then get back to Hong. Very constructive comments here, and say, Kieran, you have the floor.
Thanks, Victor. Just a few points. A great paper, I thought, very detailed. On AI seems to be a very broad category. So to have a dependent variable of AI, even though you've classified it in different ways, I just wonder sometimes what some of it might mean. So AI could be a chat box, for example, in your marketing. You might use a chat box. You might have a fleet of vehicles that might use GPS, which is classified as AI. Or if you've got, if you're a medical service, you'll be using it maybe for diagnostics. The real way in which probably AI is useful to firms is probably in strategy, where you use it actually for scanning and organizational configuration and so on, which would be a different form of AI completely. So there's a lot of heterogeneity as to what is involved in AI. And there may be a lot of overlap between AI and R&D on the one hand and software on the other, which are also inputs. So I just like a little more information on the way that the dependent variable was thought about. And in terms of the setup that it would have an effect on productivity and so on, TFP, I mean, there is, of course, a historical literature on the way that ICT, information communications technology, affected productivity. And we had all of the puzzles and so on, because it took about 15 years before that appeared in the statistics as influencing productivity. So would we expect there to be an immediate effect would be my other question. And a small econometric issue, if I may, because it all went very fast. So I'm not sure that I fully caught everything in the introductory part where there was a selection equation and a main equation in the Heckman. So I understood that proximity was being used as a discriminating variable, but I think you would need to check that proximity, which itself has its problems because it needs that you know where the headquarters are, and sometimes the headquarters are not actually where they are in the records. But assuming that the proximity variable is defined correctly, nevertheless you'd have to be sure that it didn't appear in the main equation as well as the auxiliary equation, which I didn't see any evidence of, and I didn't see the diagnostic on the inverse Mills ratio in the main equation. But that's just a minor point. My other points are probably more important than that. Thanks very much for a great paper.
Thanks very much, Kirian. Very, very constructive comments and suggestions. So now, let's now get back to Hong and Ruirui.
Yeah. So let me start and see whether I can cover everything. If not, I will leave some technical issues. What happens with my connection? Can you hear me?
Yes, very well, loud and clear. Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm blocked out. So
no, you are.
Yeah,
we can hear you very well.
Okay, that's fine. And so I do appreciate that we so comments from colleagues and they are very constructive. So let me go through those comments in a reverse order. So let me start with Kieran's comments. I think Kieran's first point is on the content of AI. What exactly the AI is that AI? So we do so because at the moment we do not know. We do read the text on the AI. They sometimes say this is in the process or management, but they do not necessarily say what types of AI. So, for example, is this AI that is used for planning, or is this automatic or robotic even to replace low-level skilled labor? We do not know that. Sometimes they mention, but we catch the word whether or not they are use AI in the production process or in the management process. We put them together as AI use. If they say from the text reading, if they say they use this AI they produced another AI-related product, then this is we treat this as AI invention or AI products or product innovation. So yes, you are right, but that requires more work on reading the text. So we catch that by using the machine learning things, and then Python, and then we human we read them, and it's mainly Vina has done most of the job. So at the moment I agree it is not so clear what AI they are, but we just focused on the categories of those two categories: AI use, or AI application, and AI invention. So maybe that's possible, but we have to read more, and maybe some firms they do not really mention the types exactly, the name of the AI product. So in terms of second issue from Kerry is TFP, and TFP always I think TFP has some problems, as we all know. So I think I will leave this to Vina. Can you come in to answer how do you measure TFP?
Okay. So
briefly, Vina.
Okay, so just do the regression model of the TFP model, and we use the residual value, which is the TFP. Yes, firm by firm. Yes.
But I agree. So there are different models that we can use, and every model has a vector. So this is related to one of the Victor's comments. Every model has its pros and cons. So we do not know which one, but so I think Wina has followed the literature, the TFP literature, and to construct this measure. And also, I think Karen's point is more on short-term versus long-term. So Karen said that it takes maybe 10 years or 50 years until we see the results. I do not really see that long. So maybe so if let's say in a Chinese hotel they already use AI to deliver drinks, the products, the cleaning products, and that saves the labor. So we can, and that in our context, that should be reflected in the process innovation, because our operating cost will be reduced immediately. So yes, innovation may take longer, but that's a relevant issue. But we use the lagged term, maybe not lagged enough, but we did use the lagged term to explain the next term, let's say output or performance. In terms of the econometric issue, proximity is an IV, and Karen, in this model, we run the two equations simultaneously. So it is not the traditional Heckman two stages. If it is the traditional Heckman two stages, we run the first stage, we got the reverse Mills ratio, and then we input that into the second stage. For this one, this is probably the upgraded version or updated version of Heckman. So we do that simultaneously, and so that we can just use that dummy variable in the second equation, outcome equation. We do not necessarily to have that inverse Mills ratio. And that's the treatment, that's the practice for this simultaneously estimate the two equations. And for that, they often require a kind of IV exogenous variable in the first equation, but not in the second equation. So that's the one. And then we go to Sandrine. So Sandrine, actually, I took a note, is about the sectors. So first of all, in our empirical model, we considered the sectors in the sense that we controlled all the industry dummies. So I do not know whether this is sufficient enough for you, but I think I agree with you. Those impacts will differ if we check different sectors. For example, high-tech sector, firms that in the high-tech sector, they may have a more profound impact when we talk about AI. So we can check that. We can do some more later, maybe. And then we are now here. Amadou. So did I pronounce your name correctly? So
Yes,
Amadou, yes. So thanks for your comments. So you also actually first issue from you is that we need to check the number of accidents of employees. So we may be able to do so, but at the moment, my response is that we do not have that information. I do not know whether you know some data sources that they provide the accident number of workplace accidents. So that's the thing. And what is your? Oh, you also mentioned the econometric model. So I guess your point is, if you use the average treatment effect, you already have the treated versus the non-treated. So why do we need to use the DID, right? So I think the treatment effect is well, nowadays people say treatment effect can reduce both the selection bias problem and the endogeneity problem. So if you say a average treatment effect is already enough, then I probably agree. But nowadays, people want to use different types of econometric methods to check the robustness. And that's why we added the robustness by taking a difference in difference approach. I do not know whether you are happy with that. I think maybe it's a little bit redundant, but I do not think they do any harm. So that's something. And Victor, you focus more on the corporate finance aspects. For example, asymmetric information. So how do we consider those? Good question. I actually do not have answers because normally we would link asymmetric information with the financial. Pardon? With the financial constraints. So we didn't check any financing aspect yet, but maybe that's something we can consider. Also, uncertainty, what are the impacts? But at the moment, I think those uncertainty things are probably the moderating factors. Yeah. So, but we can think of. We already mentioned the total factor productivity measures, and as I agree, it may contain some debates or disadvantages. What else? Oh, so firm characteristics. So I think those things are in our empirical model. We control the firm characteristics. But I think, Victor, your point was whether or not our sample firms are similar, at least, or comparable in terms of other firm characteristics, apart from one thing, and that is whether or not they are AI adoption firms or they are AI engaged, let's say. And that's why we use those two econometric methods. And those we agree there are some selection bias problems. So for DID, it is ideal if we do a PSM, proportion score matching, before we do DID. To control a little bit, we have to make sure that DID is performed based on the assumption that treated groups are similar with untreated groups in terms of the firm characteristics. But I think for average treatment effect, we probably do not need to do that matching before we use that, because first of all, we have a probability equation that considers the selection bias. But that's my understanding. And thanks for all the comments. I think and those things are the extension for us to think about how to go further. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Hong, for the responses and for the discussion. Some of the comments, just reflections on what can be done. So my own comments, first of all, so some of the comments I shared were from my own frustration in using a total factor productivity. Actually, a project way back, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, with the World Bank, in which we are trying to do TFPs across a number of countries. Yes, we did get a lot of such frustrations whereby, no measure could stand, would be robust enough to be used for input into further econometric work. And then, of course, in the motivation for raising the question about farm characteristics was from a purely RCT work. I know this is not an RCT, randomized control trials type of work, but it was motivated by the way they think about, the theory of change and argue that, assume that all farms are the same. Of course, no farms are the same, but they try to say, suppose they have all similar characteristics, and the only difference would be that they have adopted, one has adopted the AI and some have not adopted, kind of thing. But this is great work. It's gonna go, great length, and most importantly, for provoking our thinking in terms of how we can look at AI and incorporate it into analysis that we're already doing, and to see whether AI or whatever form it takes might make a difference on any aspects of either farm performance or farm values or any other aspect relative to the farm. So this is great work, not only in terms of the way it's presented, but also in terms of provoking our own minds to think. Just generating, kickstarting us to start thinking about this. So great work indeed, great work. Yeah. Maybe I should give let me see in the chat. There's no more hands going up. So my interpretation is yes, we've exhausted all the issues. As this is work in progress, of course, would be great if you share with us the subsequent versions of the work. And there is no doubt it will reach a major journal. There's no doubt about this. Let me give Hong and Ruirui maybe 1 minute for the final word before I conclude.
So
Do you
Rina,
have
you
any
can
final
go ahead.
word? It's
Rina,
up to
you go
you.
ahead.
I always ask for a final word to say something final before we conclude.
Yes, thank you, Victor. Thank you, Professor Bo, and thank you for all the comments. So I remember that Victor mentioned that there are no very clear results for the TFP model, right? You mentioned that part. So I think so this is because that we have clear results for the whole sample test, but not the channels. So maybe we need to investigate more into what is the difference between the TFP and the firm growth. That's the point that we need to think more about. However, I think it do have some evidence that the TFP, the AI do have impact on TFP because the whole sample model is clear, the results, but not clear for the channels. Here, I think it is very good idea to think more about this part. And thank you, Victor, for pointing this out. However, I think it is yes, that's the response to the comments from Victor. And what do you think, Professor Bo, about this part?
Yeah. So Rina, are you happy with all the presentation or comments we received? So we will have another meeting after this. So
Yes.
we're going to discuss in detail about those comments. I will go through with you. But let me conclude this. I think I really appreciate people who can find time to be with us today, and I thank people for your comments for us to think more about what we have done and what we can do further. And I think there are quite something we can extend. For example, in terms of the contents of the AI or types of AI that Karen mentioned, in terms of the other proxy for productivity, for manufacturing, performance, like accidents and etc. or other things similar, and think about the perspective of corporate finance, as Victor mentioned. So I think we can do that, and including maybe sector distinguish between sectors. So that's very good, I think. And again, this is a very, very preliminary version. Yes. So there are lots of room to play around, and that's really good. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So and on the basis of this one, let me bounce back the thanks and the appreciation to Hong and Ruirui for this great work, for sharing this. So I want to thank you, fundamentally, and encourage you to keep on full steam ahead on this very, very promising paper. You have even set as ablaze our mind thinking about how we could walk into this area of AI and follow your footsteps in the measurement of AI and the possible implications of all. Let me also thank you, the audience, who have been here and constructively engaging, listening to the presentation, feedback. And if you think about any feedback at all, after the seminar, after the presentation, this may happen today or later evening or tomorrow or the week after, please send the comments directed to Hong or to Ruirui or to Rosemary or to myself or to Meng. So this is the final seminar this term. I know this team, the colleagues, the network, you've been so good to engage in the research seminars. And we shall be back on the 24th of April after the great Easter break, where we shall be having the next research seminar. So let me wish you, let me first thank you once again and wish you a great break and the Easter break. And we see you again, we meet here again in this channel during after the Easter break. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.